Oh hey horror movie fans! Just finishing up here. I'm Dr. Will Carver, OMG MD out of Bloomington, Indiana, and this is Dr. Carver's Auteur Autopsy. Here I talk about a movie on the weekly-ish, putting it in either the greatest movie of all time bin or worst movie of all time bin. I also present films, much like the horror host used to do, which lives on today on some networks on the electric TV gadget, and finds a new medium on the various internet machines. Click, watch, subscribe. We're going to talk about movies of the horror persuasion until we go green in the face. Oh hey, you're back. Thanks for coming. This evening, I'll be talking about 2015's Freaks of Nature, the horror debut of one Robbie Pickering, a movie that earns its place in the greatest movie of all time bin. Enjoy. Freaks of Nature is set in Dillford, Ohio, home of the Riblet, where tensions run high between the residents and the vampires and the zombies that live among them. It was originally titled Kitchen Sink. Yeah, that's right, people living with the supernatural. Those things are already a part of this universe when the movie begins. Everyone had more or less figured out a way to coexist, though it is all on pretty shaky ground. Until the aliens show up and the town descends into an all-out free-for-all with each group out for themselves. The movie basically follows a small group of high school kids, a human, a vampire, and a zombie, sort of like the Breakfast Club, who try to bring the town back together in an effort to defeat the invaders. This is one of the direct-to-video premieres in my living room variety of movie, which is surprising considering its star power. More on that in a minute. Though the movie got more or less exclusively bad reviews, I loved it, though my taste may be a little skewed considering all the carnage I have to see. But it's not a god-tier movie by any means. Now for the goods. Casting was great. The main kids are more or less unknowns. The supporting roles, however, are star-studded. The notables include Joan Cusack, Werner Herzog, who is best known as the very serious director of Grizzly Man, Cave of Forgotten Dreams, and Fitzcarraldo, Keegan-Michael Key, Bob Odenkirk, Patton Oswalt, Mae Whitman, and aka Egg in Arrested Development, and Dennis Leary. Not just relying on the notables, the movie is also pretty damn funny and features some very pretty ladies, including the main girl, Mackenzie Davis, who is in The Martian and will likely be a megastar after Blade Runner 2049 drops this fall. And in the end, the town becomes home of the veggie riblet, which I totally support. Now for the bads. There are some continuity errors, which I'm usually not too nitpicky about. I'm not one to notice them ever, and there I was distracted by several, which says a lot. The worst was one where Dennis Leary went back and forth between jump cuts from drinking whiskey to holding a gun to drinking whiskey to holding a gun. Plus, the aliens look less than stellar. They're basically just cheap CGI. Now let's take a closer look. The movie begins by doing the Fight Club thing. That's the old, here's where we are, oh wait, let me back up and show you how we got here. Now that that is out of the way, here's the last 45 minutes of the movie bit. That was the one thing that I really didn't like about Fight Club, and have strongly disliked in basically every movie since then, including this one. Also, this one isn't done particularly well. It felt all over the place and confusing in those early goings, but it sort of recovers. But it was always pretty humorous, except for in the middle there, when the town goes insane, and it's pretty dark and scary, which makes up for a lot. Probably my favorite scene came when Odenkirk and Cusack, the main dude's parents, find what they think is his stash of weed. They keep dropping hints to him that they are too into smoking pot, saying stuff like, "We want you to know we totally understand. In fact," they say, "we understand daily. Like, just before we came in here, we understood," and so forth. Sprinkled in are talk about a big change that the men in the family experience when they come of age. It's huge, it's really huge, they keep saying. It turns out they're not talking about his genitalia. Also, Odenkirk looks exactly like David Crosby. Larry, meanwhile, looks like a goat man. So before we go any further, here's your spoiler warning. There's the main kid who we find out at the end of the movie is a werewolf. This is the huge change his folks were talking about. The pretty girl who was turned into a vampire at some point, and the one smart kid who is now a zombie. It is up to them to stop the aliens, which of course they do in the end, in part because of the zombies' problem-solving abilities. A couple of interesting things here with the zombies. First, I like that the zombie kid is still smarter than everyone else. How can this be? Well, the zombies become more human as they go longer without eating brains, which is sort of cool. What is really cool though is what happens when the kid eats brains for the first time. Basically, he chins to chest sit and melts into the chair like he is doing smack for the first time. It's a nice little allusion to Return of the Living Dead, which explains that it helps with the pain of being dead. The pseudoscience behind it being that they need the dopamine that comes from fresh brains as they, in their dead state, no longer produce it. That was a nice little concept that doesn't get a lot of exploration, nor does it really need it. As previously stated, everything to do with the aliens looks not great. A lot of cheap CGI here. The aliens themselves look stupid. The main alien at the end starts out looking okay in miniature form, then looks worse as it gets bigger, and then is a really awful looking rubber suit, which is sort of a joke, I guess. The Independence Day style explosion at the end also looks pretty awful. Something of note here, Werner Herzog voices the head alien, aka the perfect being, who shows up at the end and hates on everyone. This is what he does now, apparently. Voices condescending aliens. I would watch him do just about anything though, which has included eating his own shoe. So that was Freaks of Nature. Comment below to let me know what you think about this strange little flick. Tune in next week when we talk about The Funhouse by the late great Tobe Hooper, who just died last week. Hooper was most well known for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was a pretty much perfect flick. He also had a few little gems in there with Salem's Lot, Life Force, and Poltergeist. Something new you can look forward to here in a few weeks is I'll actually be presenting a horror movie where I will introduce the flick and cut in and do a little commentary here and there. I've got my first movie picked out and it is out there. The film is Creature of Destruction. I'll have more on that as the day approaches. Please take a second to subscribe. This is Dr. Carver signing off, and if I see you, it's not a good thing.